to the table that we enjoy so much.
Yeah, thug with a crowbar.
Oh yeah,
Can like
nearly took me
TPK
down.
you. Yeah, can TPK you.
And I was tough.
Yeah, or a blackjack. Yeah. I think I do want to try, and I've never played Call of Cthulhu or Cyberpunk Red. Those are the two that are on the top besides DCC. So I'm gonna get a chance to play DCC this weekend. But Call of Cthulhu and Cyberpunk Red are the two that I'm really curious about. I hear the Alien RPG is very good, but I have not played that. I don't know nothing about it. Anybody else?
So, would you guys be willing to tell us more about this patented adventurous character creation process?
Oh boy,
We'd love to. We'd be honored.
That's the rest of this.
Would you?
Panel.
Would you?
So what I will say is that we've done panels on the character creation process before, and we probably will do it again. I know that we did several. Well, so actually, I just was reading something in the feedback channel. Apparently, a lot of the Neon Knights episodes are all like jacked up. And
Yeah, they're
like,
gone.
fucked.
They're all gone. Yeah.
So we'll have to figure that out. But we did do at least a 2 or 3 parter on the adventurous character creation process. So I will work with Rich to figure out the organization on that when we have some time to get those episodes up and like posted, just as a precursor, and then take it away.
Yeah. Rich.
Why is everybody looking at me?
Because that's your.
You're the driver on
your
the
vibe.
creation process.
So,
is
your vibe.
I'll give sort of the quick version, but basically the key word is theme. And the most important thing that you could possibly do for any D&D and I think any RPG character is align on a central theme for your character. And from then on, every single decision that you make, whether it's subclass, species, what they look like, the clothes they wear, there's anything that you could think of, their voice, all needs to be able to ladder back and point to the theme that you aligned on. And sometimes when you think of a character, you might start with something that's not the theme, right? You might start with, a subclass or an accent, right? But then, at some point you need to decide what the theme is that then that accent that you decided on connects to. And so you're not finding, the worst thing you could ever do, and obviously there's no problem if anyone's done this, is you flip open the PHB and you're like, I'll be a rogue. And
A half elf is always a half elf.
Half elf.
Always
I'll be
a half elf.
And my background's gonna be a gladiator. And then but my favorite story that I give is that I was watching a stream many years ago, and they all had character art. And every single character kind of had these fantasy clothes, but they all had a dagger. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Are they all part of some sort of assassin's guild? Like, they all have this dagger.
The hunting knife is very useful in the wild.
And then I'm like going through, and like the characters aren't related at all. They're all these different classes. And then I realize, oh my god, no. Dagger is just on their character sheet and their starting equipment. And so they just drew the dagger in because they're just a fantasy character, right? And so
you better draw all of my ball bearings.
Exactly. Every ball
all
bearing.
100 of my ball bearings.
You need to draw my backpack. Everybody's got a backpack. And so anyway, kind of when you decide on your theme, the example that I give is for the maybe 2 of you that have seen Curse of Shredanya, our Gothic horror campaign. I play a character called Professor Clayton Azran, and I distilled his theme down to 3 words. Ambitious Victorian professor, right? It doesn't mention that he's a human. It doesn't mention that he's a divination wizard. It doesn't mention that he has a top hat. It doesn't mention what voice he has, right? But him being an ambitious Victorian professor, I know sort of his personality trait. I know his vague aesthetic and kind of time period, at least in the real world. And I know roughly his occupation and sort of what makes him tick and kind of his history in life up until that point. And so that let me find a voice that fit well. That let me find a subclass that I thought was a good fit in a divination wizard. And even so, then once I have that character and I have that core theme, even while I'm playing, every single role-playing decision, I have that in the back of my head where I'm not thinking, what would Richie do? I'm thinking what an ambitious Victorian professor would do or say in this moment. And then that's a character, right? Because you can pick a voice or you can try to have a theme, but if you're just doing what you as a human on Earth would do, you're not really role-playing, right? And so...
I think to add to that, I think that if you are when you're thinking about what your character can do in a situation, do not look at your character sheet. I think it's very natural. Oh, what are the tools that I have?
Yeah.
Oh, dark vision! Dark vision! I have dark vision! I think that... I'm
We all
sorry
have
for...
dark vision, Mike.
Yeah.
You do.
I think that is when you're not just looking for solutions on the sheet, that allows you to think, what are the solutions my character, as a real person in a fantasy world, going to offer, rather than how are the tools provided to me by this game going to allow that.
The way I've tried to articulate this is you're going to have all of these different ingredients for the characters, and I say don't put ice cream in your chili. If you're making chili, and that's the theme of this character, then you know generally what kind of spices and vegetables and meat are going to go into the pot. But everyone likes ice cream. Why wouldn't you put ice cream in the chili? Don't put things onto your characters and tack on stuff just because they are cool or you think that they're neat. Keep that in your back pocket for the right character to arrive to snipe those things. Make sure that you distill the character down to that thematic essence so that you have only chili in the pot.
We are less than 70
Yeah, so it
subscribers
turns
away.
out that when you stop dropping over 70% of your frames, that all of a sudden people will care about
Oh,
your stream.
well, watch the stream.
And then they just start
Welcome.
subbing.
Also,
Welcome
can you
YouTube.
explain why Welcome
No,
YouTube?
I didn't. I was going to take a moment.
They're
to
on my
say-
hotspot.
For those of you who are watching, we were able to. Yeah, Mikey hooked up his hotspot, so we have a better connection. If you're joining
Problem
us
solving.
at home
Problem
from
solving.
YouTube land, we're at Gary Con. We're having a good time. We have people here watching.
Say
our
hi to
panel.
YouTube, folks.
Yeah,
It's a
so we're
panel.
doing Adventures
It's a
of the Show
panel.
live at Gary Con. And we're hanging out, and we're just gonna celebrate 2 million when we get 60 something more. And
We
74.
really appreciate all of your super chats, by the way.
Okay,
We
Mike.
really appreciate those.
Okay, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank
Channel
you.
members.
Thank you, channel
Thank you,
members.
channel members.
Thank you, channel
Thank you,
members.
channel
Thank you, channel members.
Okay.
Thank you, channel members. More questions. Should we talk more about do we feel like we covered the character creation
Well,
process?
to sort of layer on to what Derek
Please.
said, right? I'm sure we've all played with characters that are like, well, I'm a silly, wacky bard, and I play the bagpipes, but I'm also an assassin in an assassin's guild. But I'm also like an expert archer and like the Duke of a Ranger's guild. But I'm
also a pirate.
I'm also a pirate
And a pit fighter.
But I'm also a pit fighter gladiator, right? Like, and because I could pick all of these things, and my DM let me do it and made all these custom things.
And I
for
have a
me.
custom subclass from DM's Guild.
And
It's so
like,
balanced.
I think as the player, on your own, you feel badass as hell because there's all these things you like, but then as an actual RPG character, that's just bad, right? Like it's just when you are everything, then what's the role you play in a party of 2 to 5 other characters?
And being overloaded like that will also hurt your roleplay because you're going to be choosing from such a wide, disconnected number of options. You aren't going to have that essence in order to be like, I would do this
Right.
because are you doing something because of your assassin background or your gladiator background or your
Or
pirate
your leprechaun
background or your
bagpipe playing
leprechaun
Half-Life
right?
background.
It sounds crazy, but distilling and subtracting down to just those things that this character truly their thisness is will actually improve your roleplay because the magic will show up in the emulsion of the rest of the party as you start interacting with the other characters more and you start confronting the challenges the GM puts in front of you.
Good answer.
Good answer.
Thank you, Andy.
I'm just paying attention to chat.
Yeah.
Someone said they like my jersey.
We're
And I'm also
nearly
silently
50
thanking our
subscribers
channel
away
members
from
and our
2
super
mil.
chatters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Gotcha.
So I started watching you guys because I really enjoy horror.
Oh,
kind
great.
of found you organically
Yeah.
through started watching Icebound and Edge of Midnight.
Wow.
Great.
So I guess looking forward to the Crooked Moon. My table's never played horror before. Do you guys have any tips or anything for DMing a horror? Especially in Icebound, I love the way that Derek is able to kind of
Thank
bring
you.
that kind of psychological horror portion in like the Overton into the
Icebound's a
Lighthouse.
horror?
Yeah.
I'll jump in real quick and start with safety tools. Having consent and making sure that everyone feels comfortable and safe so that you can go into the haunted house together is essential to that horror. It's not something you talk about during the game. It's part of your session 0, and it's something that you keep communication lines open about as a campaign unfolds. Always make sure that everyone feels that level of comfort and safety, and knows what to do if someone starts to get scared and in the negative way. Then you can pursue the thrill of having horror and keeping things serious and not farting on the skeleton. That's the easiest thing to do is to pop the balloon of unease that's starting to create this dread and rising tension by making a joke. You can have jokes that are in character and gallow humor, and that can be appropriate. But you are all trying to row in the same direction, and if you're going to do a horror campaign, making sure that everyone agrees about how to do that first will make it possible to do when you actually play the game.
I'm going to jump in real quick with something because your comment made me think of something, and I always say this. When we sat down to play Curse of Strahd, Nikki had a conversation with us and was like, hey, I want you guys to take this seriously. That was part of the session 0 level setting expectations, where we all decided we were going to take it as serious as a heart attack. And then there is humor in that campaign, but it all arrived organically from us being in these super tense situations. And so it can be as simple as you sitting down with your players and be like, please take this seriously. Like, that's the tone we're trying to go for. That's the story we're trying to tell, and people will listen to you, and then. I
think the conversations that you have away from the table are more important than how you DM at the table for horror, especially, when it's going to be serious and you're trying to set a certain tone. I recommend reading the intro to The Crooked Moon. Pre-order now at thecrookedmoon.com.
That's what I was going to say.
The intro written by Mikey Gilder, I think, is a really good job.
Wow.
Establishing kind of the steps that you need to take.
What a genius.
In order to work with your group and your players in order to have an appropriate tone setting. And I think really relying on atmosphere more than just the rules of the game, and then especially more than just meta jokes and humor, I think is really critical.
What I would implore is that the characters make decisions that are thematic and that they don't make a bunch of lawful, stupid, heroes that want to be good guys. If you watch most horror films, generally the protagonist isn't some superhero that's trying to save the world.
And if they are, they die terribly.
Yes, they die
or
terribly
in the middle.
and horribly. And especially if you look at folk horror films, if you're kind of targeting it specifically at Crooked Moon, where finding, having characters that are morally ambiguous and that are self-interested and just want to survive, or in our case for Stradania, just want to leave Barovia. I think that helps keep the horror flavor and theme. And we've seen some folks in our Crooked Moon Discord about DM struggling about, all of my players just want to, kill Philip and stomp out of the why are we staying in the hollow? And
I hate to pause you.
Yeah.
We're 5 subscribers away from 2 million. We're 5. You guys are witnessing this live. 4.
3.
We're going to drop 20. 2.
No one unsubscribe, please.
No one unsubscribe. We wish we had
2
million! 2 million on YouTube.
Thank you for
folks.
being here, everybody.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here virtually. Thank you for joining us in lovely Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Amazing.
There's
Wow.
only 24 people that they can say they witnessed it live with us.
Yeah,
That is
there's only
boggling.
24 people
Boggling.
here. I would say, Andy, turn the camera around, but then I think it would fall off and crumble and break in the dust. And then it would disconnect from the internet.
I just don't want to.
Oh, yeah,
I don't want
privacy.
to show anybody.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
They're
You're
here.
right.
We're not lying. We're not like.
Yeah.
Can you imagine we're in an empty room?
Yeah.
And we're just like, oh, there's
That's the
these people
soundboard.
here.
You're just a soundboard. We're gaslighting you.
Press the pause again. Do it.
Thank you all for helping us at
Seriously,
2 million.
thank
Thank you all for
Thank all of
supporting us
you
at
too.
2 million.
This was awesome.
I never thought that we'd be here. I think we hit 1 million at Origins.
Yeah, it's all
so
good convention.
when we hit 3 million, what convention will we be at?
It'll be. I don't know. Keeley said it'd be like in 3 weeks. So.
Oh no, I wish.
3 weeks.
It'll be the Vegas licensing expo.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll be-
Vegas
we'll be
licensing
Vegas.
expo, baby.
They
Oh my
won't let
God.
me film from a craps table.
No, we're going to film from Margaritaville.
That's
connecting
oh,
with Flamingo.
That we can do.
From the Flamingo.
That we
We're
can
gonna
do.
be. Oh baby.
Oh man.
Does that help answer your question?
That does.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for all of your super chats. Any future super chats that you give us.
And
Thank you.
channel members.
And thank you, channel members.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for the folks in the room? There we go.
Who does the character art for you guys?
Most of our characters are by Dr. Cav or Dr. Cavchev or
Chegg.
Chegg or Dr. Cav. She is an amazing artist in Siberia who
DRKAV.
who just really gets our style, and she and I just really kind of mind meld. And she's really the only character artist that kind of truly pulls what I have in my head out of my brain. And so, she does almost every campaign. Salt Matey does Witchlight characters. Bromir did our old Edge of Midnight characters, and the only
Bromir,
Yorgrim and variant pieces that exist.
We do have all of the credits pinned in the Discord though
Yes.
too. So like you can find
Simi / Similarity City does the uprooted characters, and Anska did the Prime characters.
Yeah.
She's a great Hearthstone artist, Warcraft kind of fan artist.
Yeah.
Is that everybody? I don't want to miss it.
Yeah, that's everybody.
I think that's
everybody.
I'll also, and you didn't ask this question, but I'll add to that, which is Richie puts together these amazing character briefs for every single character, so that we get the art. Oh. So that we get the art that we're envisioning when we put a character together. Every single choice, from the shoes to the texture, the material, the expression, the posture,
daggers,
the silhouette,
all the daggers,
all of that,
back.
All the dark
is
vision.
expressed in with a paragraph of text and example images, a paragraph of text and example images. Some characters have dozens of slides just to make sure that we hit the mark, and then the artists that we work with are incredibly talented and can somehow put it all together and assemble it and make it feel natural, which is a hard thing to do.
Absolutely. Well done, Rich.
Thank you.
Who's next? There we go.
Who does the animation for the shorts?
Shooch.
Shuchuru is our primary animator. We have a couple animations from 2 other people. One is a fan artist in our community named Flordelums. Those were the first couple of animations. And then Velo Animation did like 10 of them, 8 of them. And then
All the Chuckles ones.
all the original Chuckles ones, kind of that weird Hanna-Barbera style. And then all of the ones that have really, that people know that we've got probably approaching 100 now, is Simon Mako. He goes by Shuchuru. He is a Danish animator, and he became well known from Game Grumps. And the person who's responsible for us finding Shuchu, sitting right there, Chloe,
Oh my
one of our
God,
mods.
is that-
is that her?
She said, "Hey,
Wow.
hey, I don't know. You're looking for animators. Like, check out this guy. I love Game Grumps. I really like Game Grumps. Check out this guy." And we're like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah, did I mention that I love Game Grumps?
Yeah.
Have you heard
And
Game
I'm
Grumps,
like,
though?
I'll email him. And I'm like, you know what? We're really looking for someone who's like funny and really good at illustration and really good at animation and really fast and really melds with us. And he's like, "Okay, got you." And it's been an amazing working relationship with him for over a year. Over a year now.
He
at
turns
this
around
point.
animations like 3 days.
I'll never forget, we got the first test animation. It was all black and white.
Oh my god.
Waiting in the TSA line, going to either Gary Con or Gamma.
It was
last
Gamma.
Year. Gamma last
It
year.
was Gamma last year.
And so it's been over a year, just over a year. of,
So Shoots the
featuring.
legend. Shoots, if you're watching us, thank you so much. We love you.
I remember watching it in line, and we were like, it was like 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we're like in the airport,
Yep.
and like we have tears in our eyes watching these like rough animations, and we were like, oh yeah, there's
It was
something here.
the Schmeenest one.
This
Yeah.
was like
the Mr. Hamilton.
Yeah, Mr.
This was like 3-4 weeks ago, but I'm about to get to sleep, and Shoots just sends me a message on Discord, and it's a GIF of the Bitsy doing woo moment, and I just died laughing. He's so talented, and he just gets the unhinged energy of the channel and some of our more ridiculous bits. Good
Who's
question.
next?
Good answer. Good answer.
So do you guys have like outside interests that you find that really influence or enhance your role playing ability, experience, running games, being characters?
Have you heard of a Soyaf?
Yeah, A Song of Ice and Fire for me and George R. R. Martin's work. Well, yeah, I mean, I think basically what we tell people is to go consume media. I think that if you're consuming stories, they will inevitably, even subconsciously, but I think consciously they should, is the more stories you consume across media, and it could even be video game stories. It can be anything that feels thematic. The more that you consume, the more inspiration, and the more that you experience good stories, the more that you'll be able to use that in, whether you're a DM and telling a good story or having a good personal character arc as a PC. I think, so basically, film, books, video games, TV is really good, and I think that like those are the hobbies that I've found have really helped me, and especially getting more into reading and finding authors that I really resonate with has helped me think about just characterization and world building?
I think to kind of, something different. I agree with everything Mike just said. I think interest in folklore and mythology.
Yeah.
I think is super, super useful when making D&D characters. Obviously, it's a fantasy world, so there's kind of a vague time frame that matches, the classic D&D setting. But Avantris is a little anachronistic, and we have all sorts of time periods sort of wrapped up into one fantasy world. And so that means that pretty much any folklore or mythology is fair game for inspiration. And so, I mentioned earlier that I was watching the Norwegian bushcrafter on YouTube for the Norwegian accent, but then I also had an interest in Norse mythology and kind of some experience there. But then once I was going to make the character, I dove in and started watching videos and doing research and, reading articles and stuff about Norse mythology and about Satyr, which is their version of kind of magic and kind of the Norse seers, at least as far as we know, and kind of the practices that we believe that they had influenced a ton of who Yornir is. And Mike looked up superstitions of sailors for Barnabas.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
So I highly encourage, even if you're inspired by something and that inspires your character, once you've decided, hey, this is my theme, go do research.
Do the deep dive.
Yeah, dive in.
That's one of those things that I've always needed. I need to be better about. I need to be better about it.
Right.
I strive to be. That's one of those ways that you inspire me, Rich.
Thank you.
That I need to do more
Thank you,
deep
Andy.
dive research. Even though you said you weren't going to miss me when I was at the table, if I was gone.
No,
like,
I did.
There's only
I
one
said-
person here who's going to miss
I
me,
said
and he was
I
like,
would.
"What?"
I was working, and then I said, yeah, I would totally.
I forgot that moment even
It
happened.
wasn't
but you
sarcastic.
didn't,
I
mate.
know you forgot.
Yeah.
This is more on the.
I was in the bathroom, though, to be fair.
The GM side, but my answer to your question is the hobbies and especially walking for me has really helped
Oh, good call.
inform because
Going
that's
on
the
walks.
time that I can go on the meditative thought work that I need to go on in order to do the world building or think
Yeah.
about what needs to happen with the story or how to create a more satisfying experience. I give myself a 15 to 30 minute walk every day, and I try to use that time to just go there and into the fantasy space where I'll be able to do the creative work away from a computer, away from a notebook, just a place for me, because the things that stick with you during those walks and that you come back to will be the most important ones, and that's sort of my filter to get to where I need to be creatively for characters and stories.
Anybody else?
So, when it comes to villains or antagonists, when you're a GM or a DM trying to pull your players into wanting to oppose said antagonist, or you're the player opposing that antagonist, what is your favorite sort of theme for that villain? Do you like the kind of just the classic powerhouse tyrannical approach, just like your Fire Lord Ozai, or do you like the sort of puppet master manipulator kind of characters that are sort of like Death Note, like the light character?
I love villains. I love writing villains. Crooked Moon started because I'm like, hey, I want to write a ton of villains, and that's why the Crooked Moon was created. And I think for me it really depends. And the whole point of the very first campaign we ever played was called Prime, and that was basically a series of villains that I wanted to run, and that was the whole story effectively. I think my favorite kind of villain is the villain that you don't really hate. That you're like, wow, I can kind of see their point, and that you start to trust them at the beginning, and it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to kill you now because it deals with my plan. I don't, as far as alignment, neutral evil, I guess, is kind of extremely self-motivated, extremely selfish, and those are the villains that I really enjoy writing. And the ones where they're not necessarily committing egregious atrocities, but they still need to be stopped. I think, and you can kind of see their point, I think is my favorite to write by far.
I think to layer on as someone that, as a player who experiences villains, I think my favorite are the ones that are introduced early and often.
Yeah.
And that you get to experience them, maybe chat with them. Villain must pay moments of, Nikki did this amazingly with Curse of Shridanya and even Edge of Midnight, Mother Midnight was showing up pretty early. I think in my mind, all of the villains that didn't land as effectively were the ones where they just showed up, and then the Yeti from that ski game on Windows, they all of a sudden they show up and then they rush and they attack you and then you kill them, right? To me, those are the weakest villains that I'm I want more time with those villains, right? I want more time to kind of experience their horror.
And what I'll say is that doing that in a game of D&D, especially depending on the party, extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Of where, there was time where I tried to do that in the first arc of Prime, and I had these like these illusions of the witches, and basically Rose, I swing my axe at them. I try to kill them, and it's one of those things of where like most parties will be like, I shoot them in the face as soon as they show up, so you can't really have the villain monologues. Now it's at the point that we've established that monologuing is a free action.
Right.
The villain's going to show up and teleport away, and unless it's time for their boss fight, you're not doing shit. I'm sorry, if it's in the rules, I don't care. They get their monologue, they get to teleport away, and they're going to get away. And I'm going to create a video game boss fight. This is World of Warcraft. Until it's the raid fight where you go into their fight, you don't get to kill them. And that is a conceit of that we've all agreed upon as a table.
Table alignment.
That
stories.
has allowed us to enhance the narrative and create better villains.
100%.
I have sort of a reverse answer, which is just that I thought I would love and ended up hating doing the evil, capital evil, E for evil guy. I thought, it's going to be this badass lich who he's just evil for evil's sake. And to Richie's point, it fell flat. It wasn't interesting. My players didn't enjoy themselves nearly as much as if I'd done something subtle. And my most successful villains are the ones who get in your head, who've been insidious, who gaslight you, make you wonder what is true and what isn't. Yeah. Those is the direction I typically recommend, and certainly it's my preference now that I've learned better.
That said, a villain who is just overly evil, but is fun evil, those are really fun too. Of where like there's no redeeming quality, you don't have a sad backstory. You're like, oh no, it's so sad.
You just don't want to do that all the time.
Yes.
Like mix it up.
Yeah, mix it up. Yeah. And so like when they're just super evil, brutal, dumb, and just they're fun evil, those are really fun too. Like the orcs from Warhammer, right? Like that's always really fun too.
I think we have time for one more.
One more question.
Oh wow.
Last question. Who has it?
The stream's also dying again.
What are your thoughts on Culver's?
Culver's.
It's mid.
This is for Andy.
It's mid.
It's mid.
It's mid.
Wow.
Mid.
No, just kidding. We've never had it.
Never had it.
We've never eaten
We
Culver's.
haven't gotten there.
No, yeah. We've never. Last year when we came here to GaryCon, Chloe was like, you guys got to try Culver's. It's only like 40 minutes away. And I was like, what? That's not happening. I'm sorry.
Do you know that
never
at a
happen.
convention, if it's like a 15-minute walk away,
Not
it's
happening.
too far.
Yeah, it's not happening.
It's too far.
That's so we did not
And
make that
Uber
trek,
eats it.
but we
Yeah,
lied and we
Uber
said
eats
that we
Culver's.
tried Culver's on the way from the airport to here, and we said it was mid without having ever had it. So that's my confession. I'm coming
Wow.
clean.
Live on YouTube.
Yeah,
Good question. I don't have anything to add to that.
yeah, that's fair. Anything else? Any other last final thoughts?
Last one.
This is more of a
Great shirt.
funny question. Thank you. So we are all familiar with the curvature of Evantris.
Oh
But
my
the
God.
people that live on Evantris might not know. So, is there a flat Evantris society? And if there was one, where would it be located and which of your characters?
There is a cube of Antris Society.
Oh.
Where it is just a floating cube of bouillon cube in a bone broth sea. That is the society that exists in Evantris, for sure.
I assume that if it's a solar system, that all of the planets are actually the polyhedral dice set.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
There's,
We're on
there's
a
a
D6.
pyramid,
Yeah,
and we're on the
yeah,
D6.
We're on the D6.
For
yeah,
sure,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
very
yeah.
funny. Awesome. Yeah, one more.
So since you guys haven't really done too many TTRPGs, if you like horror, I'd recommend Dread.
Dread.
I've been
Oh,
begging to run it for years.
So Derek knows it, yeah.
I just played this morning Mystic Punks.
I've heard that's
Mystic
very good
Punks.
too.
I've never even heard of that.
Really good, like pickup style, where we created our characters in about like 15 minutes, and then
Yeah.
had the
Yeah.
rest of the time to play.
Yeah,
I love that.
I've heard of that one. I was gonna check that one out. Mystic Punks.
Dread and 10 Candles are two like one-shot systems that I've been desperate to play, and we just haven't found the oxygen to do it
yeah,
yet.
it's At the funeral.
I played it once, Dread, and just like the Jenga that you played during
Yeah.
is absolutely phenomenal. And it kind of goes with hers, where if you want to like facilitate a horror base, then you could do a one shot of Dread, and then they're able to get into that horror mindset in order
Yeah.
to introduce that to it.
Would you say that the Jenga fills you with dread?
Dun dun dun.
Oh,
and with that, thank
with
you so
that,
much, everybody.
thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
for being here. Thanks for the panel. For you in YouTube land.
Thank you
so
in
much for
YouTube
the
land.
support, the subs. We love you.
Thank you for the super chats. Thank
Yeah.
you, channel members. We love you guys. Sorry that it wasn't more of like a classic celebration stream, but this was a great time. Thank you for joining us.
We love you guys.
Sorry about the internet.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you all
Bye-bye.
soon. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you guys.